Dr. Mark Jangizi here, your Science Moment. Today I'm going to talk about should we excuse world leaders who promoted the COVID interventions and have done so for 3 years. Should we excuse them because, well, they were just, one of the many puppets being controlled by certain external forces. Now, previous Science Moment, I've been complaining about the fact that many of the people on Team Rationality, Team Reality, have been excusing early figures that are now joining Team Reality, or have joined Team Reality. But back in March of 2020, in April and May, many of them were promoting lockdowns, pushing for them. They were part of the mass hysteria at the start, and they were part of the problem. The very point of understanding mass hysteria is that those that are within a mass hysteria are not excused by virtue of it. There's a very simplistic, childish notion of moral responsibility that a lot of people have natural intuitions, and it's that, well, if they were doing it with good intentions, then we can't blame them. They only want to blame people who are twiddling their mustaches from the outside, knowing that they're doing evil and pushing people around for certain evil aims. That's not how societal level evil happens. Societal level evil happens through people who are trying to help the world with their ingenious schemes. Those are the worst people. Those are the monsters that in fact destroy societies, engage in democides and genocides. Those are the people that you have to blame. And they are blameworthy for reasons I've talked about in many science moments, including this one that'll pop up here. So, in addition to excusing people that were inflaming the mass hysteria, who are now claiming to be parts of Team Reality, and we can't excuse them. They need to have reputation hits. But now, some guy named Kim.com, who I guess I've seen before on Twitter, I have no idea who this person is, 500,000 or more followers, concerning Jacinda, the current leader of New Zealand and one of the most authoritarian figures who pushed all of the sorts of interventions, extremely draconian and massive prejudice and discrimination against the unvaccinated for 3 years. She's resigning, and this person, Kim.com, whoever he is, says, well, we really shouldn't blame her. She's a good person, and really she's just a victim like all of the other leaders who were lied to, right? Now, this is what I'm trying to explain. The folks that are responsible are the folks who got swept up into mass hysteria. They were doing it for the good. That's where the evil was. The people who are looking for the mustache twiddling people are exactly making the mistake of looking for witches rather than blaming the actual people who are responsible for this, which include local leaders, it includes national leaders, it includes commentators, it includes journalists, it includes public policy folks, it includes public policy officials, right? CDC, all these people. These were the people who were responsible, right? And as well as all the censorship that happened thereafter. People, especially with power, all of them, almost to a man and a woman, believed they were doing it righteously. And when they occasionally lied, they white lied because they thought it was still helping the greater cause that they were part of. Right? This doesn't excuse them, it makes them worse. I don't know how to get this across to people. Your notions of what evil is are being generated by the notions of evil in the regular world, individual people who are evil, who often realize that they're doing evil. Jeffrey Dahmer knew he was doing evil, but he had a compulsion, he couldn't stop, but he knew it. He knew he was doing evil. Societal level evil is never like that. Societal level evil is brought to you by people who have justified their actions as righteous and have deemed you, their enemy, if you're pushing back, as unclean enemies. It's always like that. That's the rule. Right? That's how it always is. It doesn't mean they're excused, because if you excuse that kind of behavior, you have to excuse all societal level evil. Right? And of course, that's ridiculous. That's not how moral culpability works. Right? And I have an early one from 200 and something moments ago about understanding moral culpability, and it's much more complex than most of our intuitions when we walked into the door as an undergrad. Certainly, it was much beyond what I was capable of back then. Jacinda is one of the most morally culpable individuals that exists on Earth, and of course, there's thousands of morally culpable individuals, but she's certainly up there really high, right? What kind of philosophy, mistaken set of philosophical principles must one have in one's head to say that, no, we're going to excuse her because she's a victim as well, right? That should be an ad absurdum. It should show that the suite of ideas that you have in your head are bungled and messed up, that it could ever lead to a conclusion like that. But I'm afraid that it will if you don't have a proper understanding of moral culpability and what it means in a societal context. And that was your science moment. If you're interested in these sorts of philosophical / scientific issues, take a look at my Science Moments series, which of course you're watching it right now, but go to YouTube or Rumble or Instagram or Odyssey. In principle, it's there as well. Watch the entire thing. You can have a nice few evenings watching them all. They're all between 3 and 10 minutes. And I'm on probably 337 moments in. Get yourself a copy of Dr. Tim Barber and my book, Expressly Human, which is about emotional expression and social networks and how emotional expression is what undergirds free expression itself. And go take a look at our Free Expression Institute, freex.group, where we study free expression, freedom, and mass hysteria, and how freedom depends on understanding these things.